Hey everyone, I'm Irene, and we are going to go through a lot of data today that has really evolved over time. So first, we're going to start out with this amazing paper that was done in collaboration with some of the authors listed below. Over 5 years, you can see quite a spread of downloads geographically. Throughout this 5 minutes, we're going to look at many different angles from how you measure open source, open weight, AI usage. Downloads is only really a small window into what's being used. On this map, it's pretty heavily US. This is, again, all-time 5 years, quite a bit across Western Europe, and heavy China. Last year, after a specific moment, open source world started to be in a very Chinese time in its life. I didn't, my Hermes GLM did. I love you, Hermes GLM. Just crunched our downloads by top 10 and then 20 authors on the hub. According to this analysis that I did this week, and you can see it's mostly, and hello there, Mistral, good work, Mistral. It's mostly American and Chinese. Of the 20 most downloaded authors, about 75% of downloads come from models developed in China. This is a pretty significant turning point that happened around a year ago. We looked at models here that are filtered for base models that were developed within the last year. And then since January 2025, consistently the top 10 trending models on Hugging Face have been majority models developed in China. There was a brief period about a month ago where Google and NVIDIA, Gemma and the Nematron families did change this trend. We'll see where this next summer of open source takes us. As I said, downloads are only part of the picture. Derivatives are a really big part of how we look at what people are building on. Qwen absolutely bodies everybody else. It went up significantly, I believe about 30% quarter by quarter this year alone. And this really tells us what are average people who are relatively technical. There is still a selection bias for people who use open weight models. What do they want to be building on? The Qwen model family has been exceptional here. And then what gets attention? The Qwen model family has surpassed Meta as of this year, and DeepSeek, of course, has gotten a ton of attention on our platform. We're going to look at repositories now. One of the big ways that we can look at the shifts is this little rainbow in the middle. In 2025, there was an explosion of the number of organizations based in China with over 1,000 followers releasing repositories on Hugging Face. I'm going to commit a chart crime here, so I apologize. This is the American one. It's higher if you look at the y-axis from before, and it's pretty steady. But if you compare both of these, you see this really sharp rise in Chinese organizations that are sharing openly and globally. Some of the parallels that are made are so-called the Chinese DoorDash. I would argue that there is no real parallel here because some of these organizations are inherently a lot more technical than maybe their counterpart would be on the US. And the other one that I want to highlight is not just model specific, but on science. Looking at the most upvoted, and everybody here in this room knows that there's not great ways to measure paper scientific release utility. Sure, upvotes can be gamed. Most of the papers that are resonated within the technical community tend to come from Chinese organizations. I'm running low on time. We also looked at hardware if you want to check this out, and looking at broader diversity in hardware. I'm very curious about how choices in hardware affect model performance, especially as we're starting to see claims of more hardware diversification. Implication-wise, there's a lot of diffusion happening globally. I'll have that piece later, but there's really a huge point here on what this means for sovereignty. South Korea has been exceptional here, and I think is one to watch on owning their own means of production. But sovereignty can give you control over the entire stack and also reliability in a time where, especially in the past couple months, countries are uncertain if they'll be able to access models from America. However, the costs are high, and building from scratch is really hard. The model that came out of the city of Rio was found to have built mostly on Qwen. And then there was a model that was sponsored partially by the Japanese government for Rakuten that ended up also being built on open Chinese models. To be clear, they did nothing wrong, but it's hard. It's hard to build from scratch. So South Korea has chosen to be a place of open source champions and are releasing openly on Hugging Face. I'm really curious to see what this is going to look like as the developer community can better contribute to that. Finally, the most important case here is across all of these different categories, but most importantly, the global influence. It's not just who is reaching the most powerful frontier models first, but who can really expand the influence of the models they're developing, the cultural values that are embedded within those models, and shape overall deployment. Thanks so much.